Did you know that there is a 50 square mile swath of land in Yellowstone National Park where you, theoretically, can get away with any crime? According to Kaler's 2021 web article, Outside History blog series, The Yellowstone Death Zone, this is possible both because of your constitutional right to a local jury, a jury that can't be formed in certain parts of Yellowstone that are unpopulated in the Idaho section. The National Park Service has a sanctity that is highly valued by the federal government, but would they really be willing to sacrifice the rule of law for it? According to the Department of the Interior's government publication, fiscal year 2021, misleadingly published in 2020, the National Park Service requested $2.8 billion to serve as many as 318 million visitors. This system uses lots of money, and it serves a population almost as big as ours as a nation. Everyone, in some way or another, is affected by the national parks. I, for one, have visited many units of national parks. I have everything including Devil's Tower National Monument to Hawaii Volcanoes National Park to the Great Sand Dunes National Park. I've visited many different places, fostering a great interest in it with me. You see, the National Park Service is a valued instrument by the federal government made to protect and preserve natural sites, which are seen as a valuable resource for the enjoyment of all present and future generations. And it does this by, or should I say, the federal government created the National Park Service to, one, serve, because it saw natural and historical significance in certain lands, two, to uphold law and create special organizations for advocating and upholding these parks, and three, specially overseeing, which is often done via careful management and categorization. The national park system is considered to be very valuable by the federal government for both natural and historic places and for both present and future generations for their enjoyment. According to the National Park System's 2016 Origin of the National Park Idea government web article, President Ulysses S. Grant created the first park, Yellowstone, in 1872 because there were accounts of the scientific and natural wonders of the area, and westward expansion threatened to destroy that with people. It's just how things were. And the park was created to be under the Secretary and Department of the Interior as a pleasuring ground for the benefit and enjoyment of the people. On their creation, however, national monuments were tricky. You see, they were in areas already controlled by, say, the Department of War, or nowadays known as the Department of Defense. Because of this, they weren't able to oversee it properly, and thus they had to create the National Park Service to oversee it under one rule and one organization. So in order to do that, they had to create laws to maintain nature's order. So these laws and are upholding and advocating for them are done by the National Park Service to preserve the purity of their national park, of their areas, both historic and natural. So the National Park System is a resource, a very valuable one in the eyes of the government. According to the 2023 government website, Resource Protection Branch, the Resource Protection Act, the Park System Resource Protection Act, are just some of many laws that were made to oversee and enact order in the parks. And they're meant to mainly to repair man-made damages to the parks, to actually let them coexist with a populated country. According to the Department of the Interior's website about Great Americans Outdoors Act, with no date, their spending was considered to be a literal and metaphorical investment. So this spending was passed in 2020, so pretty recently, and it included billions of dollars, 70% of which went to the National Park Service alone. It was made for the enjoyment of the public and their descendants for these places. The legal protections of these areas differ by category, it's important to think. And so we're about to determine what categories mean. So categories for the National Parks Service's different units. So different units can mean a national monument right here, or it can be a national park, and there's many others. And their nomenclature is made to discern what they are, and these criterion, if you will, are both their contents and what their purposes are. So according to this 2017 government website by the National Park Service, referred to as What's in a Name, these places are divided by natural value or historical value. So these two are places of natural value. And so natural value includes opportunities for recreation, scenery, science, or all of the above. Historical places could be those which have like commemorative monuments or memorials, such as, say, the Lincoln Memorial. That's a national monument. Now, as far as specifics go, specifics are determined by the content. So, the content of natural areas can include geology, which is actually how these both were determined. They're special areas of actually both geological formations. Not only does it include geology, but it also includes unique flora and fauna, so unique ecosystems in these areas. Historical areas, on the other hand, can either preserve events, they can preserve artifacts, or they can actually hold monuments on these areas. This ideal of commitment to both the future and present generations, as well as the nature that we owe, is a huge great American ideal that is greatly seen in the national parks. The government formed the national park system because they saw significance in it. They wanted to protect these sites with special laws, and they wanted to oversee and organize these areas by both their contents and their purposes for the optimized visitor service, which is a big portion of what they are for, visitor service. So, would there really be a possibility for the U.S. Constitution to be abused so that you could get away with any crime in Yellowstone National Park? According to Falsoni and Grisco, attorneys at law, in their 2014 web article, A Zone of Death in Yellowstone National Park, an elk poacher in 2007 pleaded the sixth after killing an elk in the Montana section of Yellowstone National Park. But the court specifically didn't want his local jury because it would have established a zone of death in National Park. This is because, as much as we love to think of legal loopholes and all these special things, courts are composed of people, and they're dynamic, and they're living. So too are the national parks. They're a moving part of our modern world. New laws, new funding, and new developments. New national parks are developed every few years. And I think it's great to think that in an ever-moving modern world and fast-paced modern world, we always will have the back of Mother Nature to lean on. All right. Forgive me here. So here we can see my note cards. So as you can see, they are one-sided, all of them. I'll show you the sides. Slashes indicate where cues are. And we have more here. Oh, and they're all front. So one front and back, one front and back, two front and back, three front and back. Oh, here, four front and back. And I best show you a detailed look at them. Just so you can actually read them. I'm sorry. So, number 1, number 2, number 3, number Number 4. Thank you very much for watching.